So good morning all. I'm very happy to be here with you this morning. At 0300 hours and 25 minutes this morning, I was less happy due to a major goalkeeping error by a Russian goalkeeper. Thankfully, Mr. Kerzakov 5 minutes later restored our integrity. So we're hoping this is good for Russian markets in the future. Sander, thank you for a delicious introduction to the topic at hand today. I will be talking, however, about the Russian healthcare and sciences landscape and subsectors and their respective investor interest. Most notably, healthcare remains recession resistant. I love to quote week 3 of 2009. The world was collapsing. S&P 500, all companies were down by more than 50%, except healthcare and cigarette smoking. Each were less than 5% down. The sector continues to grow in terms of economic importance. And to put that in perspective, the USA spends per annum the equivalent of the GDP of Russia on its healthcare. We think this may go out to 20% by the year 2020. Why healthcare? One, it is big. And to put that into perspective, healthcare globally is equivalent to the IT sector and global telecommunications combined. That's why it's important to all countries and humanity. We're seeing a convergence of trends now towards drugs, devices, and technology making impacts on improved healthcare globally. As I speak, we're in the middle of a frenzy of healthcare M&A activity. To date, in this year, we have seen 163 billion expended on buying companies, a little bit like Sander was alluding to. This is up 50% year on year and up 3 times compared to 2012. This does not include Pfizer's unsuccessful bid for $116 billion for AstraZeneca, nor Monday this week, the 16th of June, Medtronic, the world's largest medical devices company, buying Covidien for only $42.9 billion. What's driving this frenzy for M&A activity in the sector? We see a quest, one, for market share. If I'm big, how do I become bigger? It's not by a new startup that I'm going to buy tomorrow. We have to buy big to buy significant slices of market share. We're looking for economies of scale so we can make more profit with a bigger company. US companies, we're seeing a real trend, I think, in the sector, and that's certainly driving to some extent Medtronic's acquisition, offshore tax advantages by paying lower taxes not in the US. Will this persist? We shall see. But mostly, we're buying innovative pipeline. No longer, again, as Sander alluded to, is development in-house is almost becoming irrelevant. I'm buying innovation through open innovation and M&A activity. So, Russia. Where are we today with the market size and activity in this country? It grew last year by 13.6% to over 1 trillion rubles. Parapharmaceuticals, dietary supplements, increased by some 14% to 170 billion rubles. Segment drugs, so this is where we are being reimbursed by government programs, grew only 6%. I'll come back to this topic in a moment, to 83 billion, and hospital purchases 17.2% to 183 billion. Those numbers, if we're dividing by approximately 40, aren't huge in global terms, but you will notice double-digit growth in most sectors. Some other interesting trends we're seeing in the market is a joint venture announced on the 25th of April. So AFK Sistema, one of my favourite Russian companies, is aligning with Fresenius Kabi, one of my favourite healthcare suppliers. Fresenius will be the majority stakeholder in this venture, and we're seeing leveraging one another's strength to optimise market penetration inside Russia and CIS. We'll see expanded product offering from Binopharm, the AFK Sistema subsidiary, localised GMP production, which very few people can do inside Russia today, and promote new biotech products through the combined marketing and sales network. We see another deal this year, consolidation in supply chain. One of Russia's largest pharmaceutical chains, 36.6, and AVE Group merger will have over 1,000 stores in Russia. This is a good place to sell your pharmaceuticals or your dietary supplements, etc. These trends, however, are being driven by Pharma 2020, producing onshore and developing onshore, we hope, by 2020. We will see more and more alliances through global pharma and local pharma. One of the companies that's best exemplifying this, I see, is R Pharma, doing repeatedly co-development with drugs that have undergone already significant development with multinationals and completing that onshore. Other trends, traditionally Russia has sold other people's drugs or generics. We are seeing a trend for Russian companies wanting and striving to become what are termed fully integrated pharmaceutical companies. That's easy to say, and I put in brackets, this is a long road to travel, but we see groups like Farm Standard, R Pharma and Protec, and I quote one of our internal RMG securities analysts, Ksenia Aratunyova, we see this as a remedy for market turbulence, 13% growth per annum, consumer demands in higher priced drugs, strong cash position, healthy market share in reimbursed pharmaceuticals. These are good for investors if you're looking at listed stock. I say unfortunately, we do not have US reimbursement schedules, but nor does the rest of the world, so we're in the same cup as everyone else, other countries around the world. And I maybe reinforce some comments from Sander, excuse me. Why are we interested in investing in this sector? There are three sets of forces that work for and against you in this process. There are high risks, long lead times, but very high rewards. Risks. There's no better exemplar of risks in the pharmaceutical industry than a drug called Vioxx. We started realising in October 2004 it was killing people, only about 2,000 that we could track down. Merck Corporation lost $24 billion in its market cap in 36 hours. So the risks, after having built up a company for more than 5 decades, are quite serious and large. We're looking ourselves at a current investee company. It will take us 18 months to develop appropriate clinical trial design. We then have to do clinical trials in Europe and Russia, and then another 3 to 5 years to be dreaming of FDA registration in the USA. However, we are chasing a $30 to $40 billion market opportunity for which no solution exists today. So that's my long lead time blues, but maybe high returns if we get there. And I quote from the 22nd of March this year, major downturn in the biotech index. What drove this? All the market went down. An FDA note. Biotech stocks suffered their sharpest decline since October 2011. Gilead, a group that's only worth $107 billion, suggested they were taking a new treatment to market, hepatitis C. It will only cost each of you $84,000 for a 12-week cycle. The dilemma is someone's got to pay for this, and unfortunately in the USA we cannot withhold treatment, so in the end someone will be paying for this. The nice thing is it's cheaper than treating someone with hepatitis C in hospital, which is over $200,000. So everyone's happy, and the markets have returned to buoyancy since then. This long lead term is always linked to regulatory hurdles, and again, Sander mentioned this. We have such things in Europe as a CE mark for medical devices and diagnostics. One can look at this at 18 months to 3 years. If you're doing genetic testing, clear approved testing facilities are almost obligatory today. This is US driven. There is not a single laboratory in Russia. We cannot afford the cost of doing one of these tests in Russia because we are not reimbursed against the cost. And the USA FDA or the EU EMA, this can be another 5 to 10 years to get approval. You must be knowing what you're seeking before you go to them. So getting good advice and paying for that, I hear many Russian companies say, oh, we'll go to Russia, we'll get some clinical data. You have to start again 3 to 5 years later. You should spend some money with one of the world's leading CROs, just a few $100,000, design and track your clinical trials well, and then you can use those tests later in Russia, in Europe and around the world. The regulatory hurdles are perhaps less severe for medical devices. So we're not always confronted with these huge hurdles. I was in Israel last week with colleagues looking at investment opportunities in medical devices. Israel has become the mecca of medical device development globally. Why? Mostly because about 1.2 million Russians emigrated there some years ago, including many scientists and engineers. There's a superhighway, Israel, Russia, but we're still not exploiting this know-how so much onshore. We saw consistently examples of $200 to $500 million exits in 3 to 5 years with down payments of under $10 million low-cost investment. Here in Russia, I believe we're very much globally or can be globally competitive in this sector because we're good at mathematics, physics, algorithm development and software design. Currently with RMG, we're raising capital for an Israeli-based medical devices company, Riverflow Fund. Any interested, we're more than happy to discuss that with you. Medical devices in Russia, it's a 20 billion rubles were authorized in 2013, 460 billion in rubles again in 11-12. The market size is approximately $6 billion US dollars. Imports 73%, so not much onshore yet. This should spell opportunity to those investors in the room. We still have in this sector a lot of what I term lateral leakage. The Ministry of Health is aware of this. We're trying to control the way some of these purchases are made inside Russia to reduce opportunities for corruption. Some of the overriding trends globally now in healthcare, we see enabling devices, so electronic medical records, molecular diagnostics, point-of-care testing in the biggest country of the world should be an opportunity. Prevention and healthy lifestyle support, chronic disease, heart disease, cancer, respiratory and diabetes. Why do we like these as investors? Someone has to take my drug or treatment every day for the rest of my life. We get rich investing in these sectors. Addiction, managing smoking, alcohol and drugs, an ageing population, and the well-being of healthy, young and old people as they manage and take more interest in their own healthcare. And innovative medicines focused on macromolecules, and we heard good examples from Sander. Some exciting opportunities inside Russia. Without access to technology, Russia cannot modernise its healthcare infrastructure. We lack medications, low salaries in the healthcare sector, insufficient equipment, and the largest country in the world. These also spell opportunities. We've not yet been exploiting PPPs, private sector, private-public partnerships, traditional bricks and mortars that Russian investors like, boot, build, own, operate and transfer back to government with built-in profitability. Ever-expanding CRO activity in Russia. Why do all the foreign companies come here? We can recruit faster in Russia than you can complete a study, or we can complete in Russia faster than you can recruit in the US. Anglo-Saxon ethnicity, relatively naive medication. Not everyone in this room is taking 15 medications per day. You get better results in Russia and lower costs. I just conclude there. Electronic medical records. We're good in this sector. I see opportunities for leapfrogging, best in class and exporting to other countries in the world. One of our portfolio companies is speaking later today. Reality today in biotech, and this comes from a Q1 review of VC investments in this country, it's negligible compared to 56% in IT. That came from VC reports produced by PwC and RVK and RMG. We see we need better reporting if we're going to get outputs into this sector, more investors, people competing for your funds just than grabbing the first thing that comes past. If you'd like those investors interested in this sector, we're producing a quarterly, free of charge report in English and Russian. If you give me your business cards, you'll be most welcome to receive a copy. I thank you very much for your attention.